Hey, thanks for tuning in for another codePetersen tutorial. Something I think will be fun today is a Python programming Hangman game. Let's get started. To begin, I have two .py files that I created. I'm just using PyCharm from my text editor. One of them I called words.py. The other one, doesn't really matter what you call it, but I called mine hangman.py. Words.py I thought would be a good way to create a word list to draw from without having to change the regular code. Like words.py could be something we can always add more to later without having to worry about messing anything up in our actual game code. So to begin with that, we could actually just type in here words is equal to, and for right now I'll just use a few random words. I don't know, so apple, cat, house. We'll just go with that, with those three words. But that works just as we would use any kind of list, so you can add more to it. And there's probably actual Python word lists out there that you can find online, I would imagine, on like GitHub or whatever. But this document here will only contain a list in it. So now that we have that done, and again, these are both saved in the same folder. So I just created a Hangman project folder, and then words.py is in there, and then hangman.py is in there also. So going over to my other tab here, this is where I'm going to just begin the code for the game. I'll use some documentation and some comments, so if you decide to go back and make modifications to your code to make the game, you know, put your own spin on it, then you can do that easily. So I'll put on here to allow us to import random word from words.py. Alright, and the way we would bring in something random is to type in import random. Alright, and then underneath that I'll put in another comment. This is gray because we don't have a reference to this random yet, but once we make reference to it below, then it'll fill in to its normal colors. Then I will then I need to also put from words import, and that's going to give us access to our words.py when we want to bring in a random word from that list on that page. Okay, going down to the next line, we have another comment here. Randomly selects word from list.py. And the way we would do that is just type in word list equals random.choice words. And we could have word list be whatever we want. It's, you know, just a variable that we're having set, which is going to choose something random from that words list. Okay, so then we look down here, and then we want to find a way to like tell if there's a word or a letter in a particular word, and then to be able to make comparisons to that. So here we'll put in a comment that's going to say converts letters in Word to items in list. I think will probably be the best way to do that. So then the way we would do that with Python, we could type in letter list equals list, and then we'll put in parentheses, and I will type in word list. So we're going to create a list that's going to be called letter list, which is going to include those words in it. And let's see, what do we want to do next? Probably we'll want to have some way to keep track of like letters that we guessed. So here I'll put in a comment and type in variable for keeping track of successful guesses, and then I will define that like this. I'll say number left equals the length of letter list, because that is our list that we used for creating that list of letters. Alright, looking down here, the next comment that we have, list to display unguessed letters as stars, just for kind of a little visual thing that we have. And so we will put underneath that, we'll say display list is equal to list word list. And then we'll put in a comment in here for or actually no, we will just call that, sorry about that, let me back up here again. We'll just type that as display list equals, and we'll make that into an empty list for right now that we'll reference later. Alright, and then we'll put in here creates a list to display with placeholders from each letter of the word, and for that I will use display list is equal to list and word list. Alright, there we go. Display list. Yeah, that should work. And then we're almost done with the part where we get this stuff set up. List of letters user has guessed. That'd probably be something that's useful to know. And we'll say guessed is equal to I think that'll be fine. And let's see, we can also, while I'm thinking about it, variable for keeping track of unsuccessful guesses, and then I'll just give that an initial value of 0. Alright, I think that is probably everything that we need to get started with this code, and if I'm forgetting anything, obviously we can go back up and add anything we need to later. But all right. So going down here, we can put in a comment for this, and then I will type in sweet title screen. So I thought it would be fun to make this have some ASCII art to it. And so we'll be using kind of a lot of print statements for the visuals. But print, and if I put in some stars in here, like I don't know, maybe 25 or something like that, maybe a few more. That'll be the top row, and then beneath that we can say print, and I'll put in 1 star, and then what if I type in Hangman version 0.9. I don't want to give this thing any version number yet, but I'm not ready to commit to a full one even when I think I'm done. So alright, and then I put my star here, and it's still not quite centered, so let me bring it down a few. Maybe go just one more. I think that'll be fine. I don't know. Sorry, I'm being rather indecisive about this. Alright, so there is that part, and then underneath it we can just copy this same thing and we can save this. So just real quick here, if I run this program, just to kind of make sure I had no errors from anything above, and then that's kind of what it would look like for that. Alright, so there we are for that. Scrolling down now, we have, let's see, we could actually probably even just kind of just to space this out a little bit so it's easier to look at. And I tried to make the typeface big enough to where you'd be able to read it easily, but still small enough to where I can kind of do this somewhat efficiently for this. Alright, so here we'll go down to line 25 here, and for a comment on this, for each letter in the word, fill display with a star. And we will do that by using a for loop on this. So we'll type in for x in range, and then I'm going to put some parentheses in here, and then I'll put in length in parentheses of letter list, and then a colon. And if I press enter here, then I could use display list and put in my brackets here of x, and then I'll put in a equals, and then I'll put in my quotation marks, and then I'll put in a star. Alright, the next thing that we want to do down here, I'll just scroll down to press enter a couple times for line 29 on mine, and I will type in variable that takes us into our while loop. Alright, so I'll type in play. I'll just define it as play, is equal to input, and I'll put in here play y or n, just to make it easy for the user. And then I'll put while play dot lower is equal to lowercase y, and I use that dot lower because everything otherwise is case sensitive. So this way if they type in a capital Y, it still makes it lower. You just have to make sure when using dot lower you set it equal to a lowercase y. Oftentimes I'll have students that'll put play dot lower equal to capital Y. Well, the dot lower is never going to equal to a capital, and then it will never take you to your while loop, so it'll just skip over it. So just be aware of that. If it starts behaving strangely, that could be a reason why. Line 32 here, I'll put in another comment. Displays letters we have guessed into our guest list. Alright, and so I'll press enter, and then I'll tab that over, and then that's just going to be print quotation marks letters guessed, and then after those quotation marks I'll put in a comma, and then I'll type in guessed, which goes back to this item up here that we had. Alright, so next thing we have, then we'll go print display list to make that visual to the game player, and then I'll put in a comment here that says display graphic based on number of misses we have had. Alright, so the way that we could do this, it's kind of a few ways. Probably with the easiest way, just for the sake of time. So I'm going to start with if misses is equal to 0. Alright, and then what's this going to look like? So I'm going to go print quotation marks, and I will put in just a space, and then I'll put, looking down at my keyboard for what I want to use, not that one, I want to use this vertical line that's above the enter for that, and then I will use like 3 dashes, and then I'll put another, do it again, one of these lines right there. Okay, and then underneath that I'll go print quotation marks, and then I'll space over and put another one of these right here. And with that line right there, I am actually just going to copy it, and I'll paste that so that I have, let's see, I'll paste it here because I want like 5 of those. So 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that'll work. And then if I go beneath that and then one more print, then I can use an underscore and then one of these lines and then an underscore. So this will be like our little hangman thing that you would normally draw on there. Okay, so that's what it looks like with one. Alright, now if I go down here and if misses is equal to one, or yeah, that one up there is with no misses. What would it look like if they guess one letter incorrectly? So let's copy that. We'll paste this underneath it, but then on this line 47 right here, I'll just arrow over and use a capital O. And then you'll kind of figure out what we have going on after this. So then line 54, if misses equal to 2, we'll select this. All right. Okay, paste that in. And then if it's got a miss there, then you could actually segment the body however you want to, But on this one here, I will use like you get the trunk of the person, or I guess if you want to call it that. Alright, so then now that we kind of see that pattern, I can copy this and then go down to line 63 and paste it. Dented mine over, that's kind of irritating. Alright, and then I will use 3. And then maybe on this one here, what I could do is type a hyphen here and then just backspace that to the side. Alright, and then if we go down to line 72, change it to if misses is equal to 4. And then after that we could put the other arm on here. Alright, we'll go down to 81. And maybe on this one I will, oh, don't forget to switch this to 5. And with this one we could use, our slash here. And then if misses is equal to 6. Actually, you know what? Because then the whole body's there, so what we'll do is this. We'll take that part out, and I don't know, like here on, I'll put a comment. Asks user to guess a letter, adds letter to guessed list. If letter is in list already, it deletes duplicate. And then down here I'm going to put in here, then sorts list alphabetically. Okay, so with that, and then we'll save the completed character for the end. So if we now go to line 91, then we could type in guess equals input, and then we'll type in here guess a letter. All right, and we'll put in here if guess in guest. Then we could type in guest dot remove guess, so that way we don't have the same letter being guessed in there multiple times. Then underneath that we could go guest dot append guess, so that way, yeah, I think that'll work for when they're guessing the letters. And a lot of this with this game, you're just trying to think, what are the problems that could happen while somebody is playing, like and try to anticipate what could happen that could cause the game to crash, and try to make your fail safes for it. Okay, then we can go guest dot sort, and that's going to put those guessed letters in alphabetical so that it's easier for them to play and see. Okay, so now a comment here. If guess is in list, guess shows up in display and updates number of letters left. All right, and we can do that with an if statement. So if guess in letter list, and remember letter list is just that what we generated from our random words, then we could say underneath that another if statement, if guess in guest and guess in display list, and then I'm going to use pass, and then underneath that I will say else, and then I will type in for x in range of the length of the letter list and then I can go if letter list square brackets x is equal to guess, then underneath that we could say display list x is equal to guess, and then after that then I will use number left is equal to number left minus 1. So that way we know how many numbers are used in there. All right. We're just about done with this, I think. When we are done with that part, then we can go down to line 105, and then we'll just backspace back to the level of this if statement right here. And let's see. Yeah, to that level. And we'll type in a comment, because we want to know, like, if the number isn't in the list, the misses variable will be updated. All right, and then underneath that, and so then this goes to this if statement right here. This will be the else condition for that. So for here we will type else colon and press enter, and it tabs us over. Misses equals misses plus 1. Alright, then we'll put in a comment here. When you lose, this takes you out of the loop and ends the game. So we will say here, if misses is greater than or equal to 6, then what we'll do is we will print the display list, and then I'm going to scroll up here and copy this art that we made here, and right underneath that, down on mine where it's like on 112 here, I'll paste that, and then here I will add another leg. Okay. So with this one here, because this line here is going to cause us problems, so then the way that you fix that is then we put in another one of these, and then it'll show up properly. Okay, so that's if misses is greater than or equal to 6. We have our full finished Hangman person there. So I guess I added one extra thing in there than what I needed, but that's okay. And then we'll go ahead and underneath that print sorry you lose, and then print the word was, and then after that we'll type in word list, so that way they see what the word was. And then to officially kick us out of that loop, we will say play is equal to n, because we had to use a lowercase y to get us into the loop. So there we go. I'll press enter a few times. I'll go back a level, and when you win, this takes you out of the loop and ends the game. So in this case, we could say if number left is less than or equal to 0, print congratulations, you win. And then we will use print the word was, and we'll put in the comma, and then we will type in word list. And then we'll say play is equal to n, just like we did above. Alright, then down here we could say, let's back over to the far left, and on this we'll put in a comment, game over, screen outside the loop, so that way the player knows like that the game is over. And this way too, if the person says at the beginning, no, I don't want to play, then they could just type in N, right? So then we could go print game over. All right. Looking at this, hopefully everything's good. Hopefully there's no major problems or anything with this, and I'm gonna go ahead and give this thing a try. So saving it, I'm gonna run this program, and just to begin, I'm gonna type in no, game over. So it takes us to the end immediately. We never go into that loop. On this one, let's say I type in Y. Alright, so far so good. So we have 3 letters here, and let's say we type in the letter Q. Alright, and then up there we have the head that's drawn in there. Alright, now let's say we try typing in the letter, let's just go all wrong for this one. So then we'll go letter W, alright, and then we'll go Y and K and L and Z, and it's updating our word list of things that we made on there, and then it says sorry you lose, the word was cat, game over. Alright, so now let's try it again, and let's go yes. So in this one here, 3-letter word again, and so hopefully our random thing's working. Let's just try this though. Let's type in C. Oh, okay, so let's try this. Let's go capital C. So we have a problem with this right here. So it says in line 98, display list is not defined. Alright, so if we look in here on line 98, I have display list. Alright. Okay, so there we go. Let's try this one more time. Play yes. Alright, so we know we're not getting the exact same word every time. Good, it was just random that cat happened on there. And so it could be apple or it could be house. So for this one, we'll type in A. Alright, let's type in H. Alright, and so now we're good. So then we'll type in O. Okay, so interesting. When we do that, we'll have to, let's see this again. So let's type in U. So it said that was incorrect. If I use U, then it shows up on here. In that, okay, that's strange. All right, so then we'll just go S and then E. All right, you got the letters. So looking in here then, we have these letters. So now what I want to do with this, just to fix that from happening because it's counting the uppercase and the lowercase wrong. So looking at these things here, if, guess, and guessed, I will go if guess dot guessed and guess is equal to that. Okay, so with my words here, what I would want to do with this list, probably I could make this be all lowercase. Guess is equal to input guess a letter, and then we could say guess is equal to guess dot lower. I probably should have tried that first. Alright, so let's try this one more time. Try this out. Alright, so we know cat is in there. I'm going to put in a capital A. Okay, there we go. So letters guessed, lowercase a, even though we typed in the capital, we'll go with the lowercase. And then we'll go with this. And then there we have it. So that is Python Hangman. I've been wanting to do this for a while. I had kind of an idea played out how I wanted this to play out, and then even though it was a little bit convenient with some of the troubleshooting at the end, I'm glad that there were some kind of easy fixes to have to work through, just so you can see when you play through with this stuff, rarely is it going to work the first time. Most of the time it's going to be punctuation problems or problems with the dot lower and this and that and everything else. But ultimately, I think this is a good start for having something that you can kind of play around with. You can use it for a project, a class project if you need to, whatever, and have some fun with it. So let me know what you think in the comments. If you make any different changes to it or advance it in any way, I would love to see it, just to see how your ideas have helped advance this project even more. It's fun to see that happen as you guys post that. So thanks again for watching. We'll catch you on our next tutorial.